And then when it stops, it'll save it.
Is you good?
And I'm gonna stop it every. Yeah. Back and they can't see.
No, it's not.
Oh, I need to share my screen, that's, so look, there's up something. She's- There. Perfect. Ah, perfect. The only thing is I can't see, yeah, on this hard. The only thing I can't see here is chat. Here. And then no, I think we're good. And I don't know if we can edit these. All right. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Sign in and everyone should have a copy and a highlighter. And, when I get to
We have a
the,
copy. Oh, they're already good.
yeah, okay. You guys ready? All right, so, the reason why we have paper. Is because you're gonna write your own notes. If you can't follow your own notes when you're writing an offer, because you're gonna have this next to you while the offer is on the screen when you're in Command and DocuSign, you need to have this next to you when you write your first offer. So that's the most important thing, because you need to follow your own notes so you can fill in the screen. Make sense? Okay, because if you can't follow your own notes, I can't help you. So write down your own notes on here and help you through as much as possible. We're going to be using the FAR/BAR contract. So this contract, that all of our contracts, if you look at the top, say Florida Realtors. Now, if it's Florida Realtors Bar Association contract, we don't put our own name up here because we want everyone to know we're using the straight form. We didn't make changes to it. We didn't embellish it. There's nothing secret in here. Now, if you look at this one, if you look at yours, you'll notice that the dollar signs are on the right-hand side. If you look at this one, the dollars are on the left-hand side. Because this, even though it says contract for residential sale and purchase, which is CRSP, at the bottom of this one, it says, like, see right there, CRSP. So we call that a CRISP contract, and that's Florida Realtors, and we do not use this contract as a buyer's agent. When you're writing an offer, the buy side is responsible for all paperwork. So you're responsible for getting the right contract and completing it and submitting it on behalf of your buyer. We do not use this CRISP. And any form, well, it won't let me do just one, any form that says CRISP on it is the wrong form.
Wow.
So if you see CRISP, do not use it. I'll send it right back. It invalidates the contract that we use. So this is the realtor's contract. What we use,
I just wanted to make sure that they were recording it.
what we use is, won't let me go back up to it. What we use is the FAR/BAR contract. Where'd it go? Yeah,
And
So what we use is FAR, and I'll show you what that is. So the difference is, this is Florida Realtors, and the other one is Florida Realtors and the Bar Association. I'm in the state's website just so I can get it on the screen.
That's my broker. She's the one that's in charge of everything.
Yeah, the one. Even open like they want to come.
No.
So the
This one?
No, from left to right, yeah.
It might, well, let me see. Now I have 3 of them open. Yeah, okay. So this is like the one you have with the numbers on this side, but at the bottom, it says Florida Realtors and Florida Bar as is. So we don't use the Florida Realtors one, which is the Chris. We use the FAR Bar because it's the Bar
So who
Association
uses the
as
Chris?
is.
Who uses the Chris?
Anyone can, we just don't.
Oh,
There's over 200 contracts in the state of Florida. But we use the FAR Bar state contract. Because it's easier for our errors and omissions if we all use the same form. Right, so it's just easier, but we don't use Chris because not approved by the Bar Association, so we just use FAR Bar. Now remember, the buy side initiates all forms, so if you've got the buy side, you are the one completing this form. Do you have a copy of this? All right, so you write your own notes in here as to what you're supposed to put in here. So on the first thing where it says the 2 parties to the transaction, there's only the buyer and the seller that are parties to the transaction. The first one, if you have a copy of the deed or you're looking at the tax roll, at the beginning up here, you're gonna put the seller's names. And exactly as to how it has it in the tax roll. And if you're not sure, because maybe it's a death or a divorce or something, then you can, like, if it's a foreclosure and you know it's a foreclosure, you can always, and you're not sure, you can always put seller of record. If you're not sure. If you're not sure because you're on the buy side, if you're not sure, look at the tax roll. If it has a name, put the name in exactly, I would just cut and paste. But if you're not sure, then put seller of record. Your buy side, make sure you sign in and grab a sheet and highlighter if you need it. On the buy side, check their driver's license or just ask them, what name do you want to take ownership in? What name should the deed be in? Right? So, like if their name is Bob, do you want to take it in Bob or does your driver's license say Robert? So we need the exact name because if we use what's on their driver's license and that's the ID they're going to use when they come to close, and we want it to match. So you're going to ask them, what name do you want to take ownership in? Is it the same as on your driver's license? Because whatever name you use, you have to bring proof. So that's what you want to put on here. So be very careful with this section.
and if it's a 2-person, we can put both names, right?
There could be 5 names. There could be 5 names. Now, remember, when you complete this as is, remember I told you the buy side initiates it, so you've got all the information that you're sending so that the listing agent can present this to the seller. So you can't talk directly to the seller, so you need to do a really good job of talking to the listing agent because they're going to present it for you. You need to be really careful with that. And then once this is executed, and executed or ratified means everyone's initial and signed everything. And be careful with initials because in DocuSign, it doesn't put a date next to the initials. So you can write yourself a note in DocuSign, add date next to initials. The only place DocuSign puts initials with a date is on the bottom, but not anywhere in the body. The second thing about the contract is, once it's executed, it's going to go to various parties so that they can go from contract to close. So who is involved in contract to close?
Buyer.
Buyer and seller. Who else? Agents. Who else? Title company has to read and understand this contract. So it has to be clear. So we're gonna put some extra things in here to make sure it's clear, like we're not gonna put ambiguous dates, like we're not gonna say we're closing in 30 days. No, we need a date. Cause everyone comes up with their own 30 days. So things like that. So the title company needs to understand, because we don't call the title company and say, you need to do this and this. We just send this to them and then these are their instructions. Who else is involved from contract to close? The lender. So the lender has to be able to understand what you're saying on here, right? And it might be insurance and it might be appraisal. We don't know, but this has to be clear for all parties. And we're responsible for that. We get paid a lot of money to do this stuff right now, maybe not in July. It's another class. All right. So we have seller of record and we have buyer. So I'm gonna put James Bond. That's my buyer. I usually put Freddie Flintstone, but I'll be there. And it says agree that the seller. Okay, agree the seller shall sell and the buyer shall buy the following described real property and personal property collectively called property. Property description. So this next section is what's being conveyed. What's conveying from one party to the next party. So in the address. So I want the city. Sign in, grab a contract, highlighter, whatever you need, because we're doing everything on paper. Actually, I'll put this address. The address.
20.1.
This is pretty bad. This, I got the rest. This, oh, true. This, Parkway, I can't. One. West Palm Beach, Florida. Yay, got it all in. So this is the street address as if we were driving by. And then underneath it wants to know the county. The closing is supposed to take place in the county of the property. It's not a deal breaker, but it's supposed to be done that way. So we put Palm Beach County, Florida. Then the tax ID. So the tax ID is in this county. I think it's 21 numbers, but you'll get it from the tax roll. I guess I should log this up. If you're on Zoom and you have any questions, you're gonna have to scream because I can't see the chat. I don't have room on here to see the chat, so somehow you'll have to get a message to us. That's for
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, I changed the password 2041. No. 276. I'll get it. I know I changed it. 241. This.
You don't want to keep on doing this, they're all out.
I don't think this thing will lock this out. I don't know my password. But they made us change
God.
the old address. I knew it was the address, I just wasn't sure. Okay, so, okay, so the tax roll that, the parcel ID, now I want you to get it from IMAP because I don't trust that the agent copied this, right? But that's the tax ID, so you can cut and paste from tax roll. We have 37 municipalities in Palm Beach County, and 80% of your work will be done in Palm Beach County. The first two numbers tells you if it's city or unincorporated. So there's 37 cities in Palm Beach County. If it's 00, it means it's unincorporated. It's not in a city, it's just county. So they only have county taxes. They don't have city and county taxes. So it's kind of good to know what at the first two numbers, if it says 0, you're not going to have city taxes. But this is the parcel ID or property ID. It's like a social security number. The first 10 numbers will tell you the subdivision, and the last 3 tell you the unit. So this is unit 210 in this subdivision. Real simple. So that's the number that we want. Yeah. So that's the number that we would cut and paste into here. The legal description that I want you to get from the tax roll. So let me look. If this building would be in. Yeah, this is my house. I bought it as a foreclosure, so get to see it 5 years ago. So it's going to go to the tax roll. So there's the property ID. I can cut and paste that. And there's a legal description. That's what I would cut and paste over. So the property ID and the legal description, cut and paste over. If it's
Property ID, legal description, cut and paste from the MLS.
from here, no, this is tax roll, not MLS, because an agent puts the information into MLS and the agent's not always right. They make mistakes. A lot of mistakes. So I want you to take it right from the tax roll.
So the alternative will be going to Papa in the property.
It'll always be in the tax roll. It may not be, well, of course it's an MLS. You're writing an offer on a property in MLS, right? 80% of the time.
What's the difference between the contract that you just provide to us? I only see a printout.
What are you asking me? What's the difference between?
The contract that you provided to us?
Yeah.
And I print this one from.
You look at the bottom.
Yeah.
And if it's identical, it's the same.
Yeah, it's just that it has a different printout. It says from Simplicity and then the serial.
Because. What serial? Oh, that's Form Simplicity. We don't use forms, we go straight to FARBAR.
Farbar, yeah.
Yeah, we use DocuSign, so it might say DocuSign. It's just saying where it came.
Yeah, okay.
So I'll know if it came from Form Simplicity. That's all, that's just telling you where it came from.
It's exactly.
100%. This is what we're looking at, is this down here.
Mm.
That's what we're looking at. Okay, so we got the legal description. And then it says personal, located in Palm Beach County, legal description. And then I'm going to refer to the line number. So I'm on line 12 over here. So I look at the line numbers together with all existing improvements and fixtures, including built-in appliances, built-in furnishings, and attached wall-to-wall carpeting and flooring. That's called real property, unless specifically excluded in paragraph 1 or other terms of this contract. Then it says personal property. Personal property, unless excluded in the next paragraph. Unless excluded or by other terms of this contract, the following items which are owned by seller and existing on the property as of the date of the initial offer are included in the purchase. And then it says range, oven, refrigerator, dishwasher, disposal, ceiling fans, light fixtures, drapery rods and draperies, blinds, window treatment, smoke detectors, garage door opener, thermostat doorbell, television wall mounts, and television mounting hardware, security gate and other access devices, mailbox keys, storm shutters, and protection items, and hardware, personal property. So it's listing all these things. If these things aren't there, you would cross them out. So you can cross out as many things as you want in here if it's not included, but you'll only put one initial and date over here. So you don't have to put initial and date besides every single line, just for the entire paragraph. So if you touch it and you cross anything out, I need initial and date of buyers, all buyers, in the margin.
Just for clarification, so in this paragraph, you only allow to initial date one line there, and if it's.
No matter how many changes you make in here.
Mhm.
I might cross out ceiling fans, I might cross out window treatments, I'm gonna cross out television mounting hardware, but only once I've touched the paragraph, one initial and date.
And you're crossing out the ones that don't pertain.
That don't apply, because it says unless excluded, these are going. So if you don't cross it out, guess who's buying it? You are, because your buyer's gonna be like, I remember it said television mounting hardware and it's not here, I want it. What are you gonna do?
There you have.
You're buying it. So that's why I have to be so careful. So the first time you show the property, like the first time you show houses, you're showing them 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 houses. But when you go back a second time, that's the house they want. So that's when you have to start taking notes. And what I do is I take this with me. Because as we're going through the house, the buyer is looking at it, but I need a second set of eyes to make sure, oh, look, there's no television mounting hardware. There's no dishwasher. So when I'm going through the house, like if we're in there the second and third time and we know we're getting ready for enough. You visit a house 2 and 3 times, they're buying it. Right? So that's when you have this with you, because you need to start making corrections. Now, in line 21, it says other personal property items included are. There are things that are left out in here.
Yeah.
So what I don't ever want you to put is CMLS, ever. Never put CMLS, because the MLS can change overnight. The MLS is not a contract, it's a marketing tool. So don't put that in there, because the agent can take everything out of the MLS. And now you're in trouble. So you're gonna list what's missing, and here's what's missing: washer, dryer, microwave, all missing. So you're gonna add those in. Water heater, and what if there was a pool? Hot washers and dryers, so I know.
You mean if an agent?
Yep, sure did. Oh, wow. I didn't list it. Didn't list the washer and dryer. Now, what else did I say? A water heater.
Water heater.
Oh, pool equipment. Well, if there's a pool, I want the pool equipment. Washer, dryer, microwave, pool equipment, water heater, and anything else that, I don't know. 1972 Corvette in the garage. Anything else that they see that they want, this is where you put it. And if something is not being conveyed, and usually if something is not being conveyed, the agent will put it in the broker's remarks. Like they'll say chandelier and dining room not going. So, dining room chandelier is what's not go. Right? If furniture is being included, I could put furniture which has no value, see exhibit 1. So let's say, that's a nice way to spell value. Let's say a lot of furniture is going and it's important to my buyer. I'll say furniture which has no value, see exhibit 1. So exhibit 1 will just be a piece of paper that you're gonna list. You'll say exhibit 1 and you'll list what that includes, but it has no value. is you're not allowed to sell furniture, you're not a furniture salesman. So that's why we have to put no value. Make sense?
Also, it's either included or not.
If they say that the furniture is going, then I need to know what furniture is going.
Right.
So I want I'll put a C exhibit 1 and we'll list the furniture that we. Cause some
Okay.
places go furnished.
And exhibit 1 is just a piece of paper.
Plain piece of paper that says exhibit 1 with the things that you're concerned about, that has no value.
Maybe that furniture negotiable.
That's what we're saying. But it can't have a value,
But it still have.
has no value. It's negotiable, but it has no value. You can't have a value because especially if you're getting a loan, if it's cash, we don't care. You don't have one?
On this,
Oh, they're free. Okay, we good with that? All right. Purchase price. So I'm gonna give you 3 examples of the purchase price. Getting better because I'm on Zoom. Because I normally write. All right, I'm gonna give you 3 examples of the purchase price, but first we're gonna go over what gets included in section 2, and then we'll go over some samples. So the purchase price of what you're gonna put in here is the offer of what you're making on the property. So I'm gonna put 500,000 on here. And you're not gonna ever leave anything blank. And then we'll go over the math, so that helps. So our offer is 500,000. Then it says on line 28, initial deposit to be held in escrow. So on this one, now here you're gonna take a best guess. This is hard because you do wanna have the offer look attractive to the seller. I'm asking the seller to take this house off the market and not look for other buyers. So I want this to look attractive. But I also don't want greed to set in on the seller where he says, oh, if they default, I'm gonna get $200,000. No. Does that make sense? So I need to make it look good, but I don't want it to make so good that my seller will look for every little mistake that we make, just so they can back out and keep the money. You look confused.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna put in, I'm gonna put $10,000 as the first deposit. And then here it says, the deposit is gonna be made out to the escrow agent. An escrow agent is not a closing agent. The escrow agent is just holding the money until we can transfer everything to a closing agent. 2 different things, but they could be the same. So level 10 is a title company, and they could be your closing agent. But for free, they hold escrow for us. They don't charge for it. So he'll take the escrow, and as soon as we determine the closing company, they wire it to the closing company. Now, this is a problem with a lot of agents. Because agents are not trained, like this training doesn't happen in 80% of the companies out. And so they were taught to put the closing agent in here. And they will argue with you. I don't want you to argue. I just want you to know that it's not right, but it's not worth arguing over. Like, don't say, well, the lawyer said, they don't care. This is the way they've done it. This is the way they'll always do it. And I can't teach everybody. It's just wrong because escrow agent is not a closing agent. Does that make sense?
so when you're collecting the escrow, don't worry about that.
Well, you gotta put something in.
But the escrow agent is not the closing agent.
So I just want you to know that's not what it is. Other agents will fight you tooth and nail, trying to teach you that closing agent and escrow are the same. No, they're not. They're not.
Dolores, so you're putting an example of 10,000 for the escrow, that's 2%.
Yes.
Is that the
No, I just picked a number. I just picked a number that was hefty enough that they wouldn't walk away overnight. Because if someone puts $1,000 down and then they see another house down the street that's 10,000 cheaper, guess what? Guess where your deposit? They'll be like, oh, I'll just walk away from that. Well, I have to put enough in there that my buyer won't walk away. One, and to make it attractive for the other agent and take it off the market. It's all negotiable, but I need something. Yeah,
Usually it doesn't go by percentage.
no, This is not the down payment, this is earnest money.
Like, for example, if I have a $1 million contract, house,
Mhm.
how much that for the?
You might put 25,000,
25,000.
yeah. Yeah. 25,000 is good. Sign in, and where'd the sign in go? Oh. I don't know their phone number, I'm just putting our number down. But this is the way I present the offer. If they come back after we're negotiating and say, oh, I want you to change it, it's no big deal. There are some things I'll fight over, but I have to pick my battles. This is not one of them. You just need to understand escrow agent and closing agent. That one apart,
Yeah. It's the-
don't grab that one. Put that one aside, someone else will get it. Yeah. No, perfect.
The escrow agent is selected by the buyer's agent.
Buyer's agent picks escrow, well, for the offer.
For the offer.
For the offer only, yeah, we can change it at any time, it's not a big deal.
Unless seller agent acts that the escrow is also held.
So it's. But I just don't, I can't argue with people, it's just not worth, I'm like, whatever. Present my own.
So.
Yeah.
For the escrow agent, like, I have a buyer and they find a house. So the escrow deposit, then the title company I'm gonna use, then I'll give my,
No, not the title company, it's the escrow agent.
yeah, the escrow agent, I'll use the 10
Here's
years.
level 10, because he's right here.
Oh.
And he'll contact your buyer and give them the wiring instructions.
Right.
Because we have to stay out of it, so that way we just have them give them the what, then they get together and we're out. Couple of things here. A lot of agents, most agents, will put down that the deposit will be made within 3 days, 3 days of left blank, after effective date. I'm gonna get you guys to clean this up. You take a buyer out. You're writing an offer. Why aren't you taking the deposit right away? Why are we waiting 3 days? Everyone is trained to wait 3 days. And I've never trained anyone for that. So why are we waiting 3 days? You wait 3 days. Why do you wait 3 days?
Because
Show
most
you
of the time, well, most of the time, they don't carry their checkbook. And they don't really know if that's the house they're gonna show.
Oh, then I'm not writing an offer if you don't know if you want this. That's my problem. You see, that's my problem with that. They're gonna go home at night and change their mind. See my problem with that? I'm like, we're gonna go look a house, bring your checkbook. Bring your checkbook. Do you go out to eat and not pay for it and say, you know what, let me think about it tonight? And I'll pay you tomorrow. Do you go out and buy anything and say, let me think about it tonight and I'll come back tomorrow? I need you to change that. Cause it's not right. You get paid, but you get paid at closing, so it's not like you're getting any money. But if I really wanted to show a strong offer, if I really want to show a strong offer to that seller, I'm like, the money's in escrow. I'm ready. We're not backing out. This is not a game. I've got this money. If you don't want it, the money's here. I'll go to another house. It's an escrow. I can flip that money all over the place.
Right.
I need you to get very strong when you take your buyers out. And you don't have to show them 30 properties, right? Because how many are they gonna buy?
One.
You just have to find the one they're looking for. And if you end up with 15 properties, ask more questions. Something's gotta be wrong with some of them. You gotta get really good at really going deep to figure out what they want. Now, the first time you take them out, both you and them are learning. You're both learning. You're learning about what that person likes, what they don't like. So you're both learning. But the second time, now you have a process of elimination. Now you've shown them 5 houses. Now it's our second trip out. I know what you like and don't like, because I listened to you when we were looking at houses, and I watched your expression. Because if you watch people, most people are horrible poker players. If they like something, they light up. If they hate it, they back up. When you open that door, stand there. Let them go inside. Don't ever go in front of them. Especially in a condo. Don't go in front of them. Especially if it's on the 20th floor. Do not get in front of them.
Why?
What's wrong with the 20th floor?
Push you over. You know, you laugh, but it's so true. It's like, so true. Gotta be really careful. But you don't get in front of them because they can push you in. You open the door and say, what do you think? And then watch them. They tell you, you have to learn how to read their body language, but they're telling you. If someone walks in and they just stop and they're like, what do you think? Really? No, that means they love it.
Yeah, they take it away like they're like.
Oh, they're like.
Yeah.
Now they go.
Your facial expression just changed there.
My whole body changed.
Yeah.
I backed up.
When you did it the first time, you were very stoic.
Now, if they're like, oh my God,
Yeah.
that's too easy. I'm just
That's
like,
too
here, let's put it on paper. I
Right.
don't even go back to the office. I'm like, great. I always have a paper contract with me. Because if they go in and go, oh my God, I'm like, okay, right now, let's hear it, right now. Go walk around, I'm filling it up. Because I don't want someone else to get it, right? They're like, oh, I'm not sure. Well, if you think about it tonight, somebody might have been in here last night. And they said the same thing, that they wanted to think about it. And they thought about it last night and they're making the offer today. So do you want someone else to get it? People are afraid of losing something. And I always joke as a listing agent, when I put a sign out front, as a listing agent, I put under contract writer right on the sign when I list it. Because everyone wants a house that someone else got, so I put under contract.
Legal,
Wow.
So is there a realtor jail someplace? I don't know.
right?
When you use the word legal, I'm looking for jail, so. Yeah, why not?
Under
But
contract
if you-
later?
If you put it in the contract, maybe people not gonna call you.
People love it when it's under contract. Everybody wants what's that they can't have.
Wait, and what do you prefer?
It's a rider,
Oh, I.
something that goes under the sign, under
As
contract
soon
or
as you
contract
build the
pending.
house, like the first day you put the sign.
If I get their permission, I'll do it.
Isn't that misrepresentation of the property, like it's not under contract?
It's marketing.
Let's try it.
If someone complains, I'll take it off.
Okay.
All I'm saying is, everybody wants something that they can have. So, you know, you don't want them to sleep on it, right? You want to make the offer.
So if the buyer asks you, is this I understand it's under contract, is it a cash deal or is it a finance?
Well, what I would tell them is, it might be falling apart, so how about we take a look at it? I'm not saying do anything illegal. Well, it's not really legal. It's more unethical than illegal. But all I'm saying is people want what they can.
Right.
So you gotta make it attractive.
You're creating a moment.
It's FOMO, fear of missing out. That's all it is. It's all. All right. So, so additional deposit, if left blank, then 10 days. I typically put an additional deposit when the inspection is complete. So my inspection is 10 days and everything is okay, I'll add an additional deposit. So I typically have this line 36 will match my inspection period. So I put 10,000. Okay, financing. So let's say we are financing 80% of this $500,000 loan. What's 80% of 500,000?
400,000.
I'm so glad y'all know so much. So you're not gonna put 80% in here. Financing, the amount that we're financing is 400,000. 400,000. And additional deposit, oh, there might be something else in there, but I'm not gonna do anything else. Now, here's what I'm showing you. This is the coolest thing. If I take this, subtract this, and this, there's my cash to close. If I take this plus this plus this plus this, it equals my offer. There's your math. Easy? Okay. So let's look at this. We're going to do two of them. We're gonna do 3 samples. What do you need? Oh. We're gonna do 3 samples here. We're gonna do cash. They're offering 500,000. Earnest money, we're gonna do 25,000. Additional deposit, I'll do 10,000. Financing is none because it's cash. No other, what's my cash to close?
For 460, 465, 470.
475.
No, it's
You said
35, 25. It's
Oh, it's
25.
10,000. I missed
This
it.
minus this, minus this, 465. That was an easy one, right? 4, 6, 500. So 465. 465, 475, 500. There we go. Right? Cool. Let's do conventional. And on this one, I'm gonna do 60-40 loan to value. What does that mean? 60-40 loan to value.
They owe 60.
So we're financing 60%, we're bringing in 40. Okay, it's 500,000. I'm gonna put 35,000 down. Additional deposit of 5,000. What's my financing?
300. 300 out.
You're fast, but I need everyone else to catch up with me. How am I getting how did you get the 300? 60% of,
40% is the 200,000.
540.
So 40% is the 200,000. Yeah,
well, I'm gonna do the 60% financing, because 6 times 5 is 300,000, right? Okay, so financing, we're gonna finance 300,000. No other, what's my cash to close? This minus this.
200.
Equals cash.
165, 165.
165? Okay, now we'll add up. 165, 195. 200,
Oh, you get, okay.
something's wrong.
165, 164, 5.
164, 194, 199.
Was it 5,000 of?
This is 5,000 additional deposit.
Yeah, so it's
Where's the
40,000.
160?
So it's 340.
Sit your phones. You're hurting my brain.
It's
160,
160.
160? Cash to close? 160, 460, 465, and 35 is 500,000. Does this make sense? Pretty cool? Not hard, right? Okay, the other one's gonna be VA. 500,000. Earnest money, 25,000. No additional deposit, 100% financing. Because it's VA. No other, what's cash to close?
They owe him.
475.
Cash to close?
Yeah, they have
They
to
owe him
give them
25,000.
back the 25,000.
Well, how do I write that? What's cash to close?
Negative 25.
$25,000. Does this make sense to you? Because they're getting 100% here, we're gonna give him back this 25. We're giving him back 25,000. It'll go towards his closing costs. We don't really give him back money, we just deduct it off his closing costs. He might get a check because I put 25,000 on. But does that make sense to you? You got 3 completely different scenarios as samples. And of course, that one was a conventional. What was that one? 80-20. That was an 80-20 over there that I did. I just wanted to change it up. So does that make sense? This is the hardest part of the contract.
When would the other kick in?
Other?
Yeah.
Other could be, let's say I don't have enough money for a deposit and I'm asking the seller to lend me 20,000.
So it would be seller financing of 20,000.
And they would put, that would still put a lien on the house.
It'd be a little promissory note. Yeah, like I'll pay it back in 3 years and, where I'll refi the whole thing or something.
Okay.
But that's an example. So yeah, that's a good example. Or 401k, but it's just I'm just getting some other kind of financing. It's like, it could be, so we used to do 80-10-10s, 80% financing, 10% second mortgage and 10% seller financing. So we used to do like some weird combinations of things that, that's how we ended up with foreclosure. So, because we made it too easy for people to get in.
Yeah.
So there was no skin in the game. If I did FHA, it would be 3.5% down. So it's really interesting. Now here's a side conversation. If I'm putting, I'll say 3%, because 3.5 is too hard. So if I was buying a house for 500,000 this month and I put 15,000 down, 3%, right? So I'm getting financing for what? If I put 15,000 down, what's my financing? 485 would be my FHA loan. And then what if in 6 months the values go down and that house is now 450,000? I am now underwater because I owe 485, but the house is only worth 450. If I stop making my payments, I'm in foreclosure. So the less skin in the game, the less money down, the higher the default rate. Now, it's good when houses are appreciating, but we're seeing the prices come down. And so we're very concerned about what's going to happen now with people that have 10 and 20% down. Or maybe they did a refi, or maybe they did a HELOC. And so now the HELOC's sitting on top and the house value goes down. Someone's not going to get paid.
Mhm.
So we're starting to watch that very careful now. And then with the announcement with the NAR thing, it might affect the value of the property.
Well, yeah, actually, there's another side going down. Okay.
Yeah, so it's happening, and it's happening faster than we thought. So understanding this and knowing how much skin in the game is really important. You never take $1,000 down, 2,000 down. People will walk overnight on $1,000 or $2,000, especially when the value is going down.
So I missed it. I think we talked about, where did that 10,000, was that something you just made up a number, or is
For
that
what?
specific for the earnest money deposit?
I make these things.
Right. So is there like a certain like percentage you should put like?
I want it to be a strong enough offer for the seller to take it off the market, but not so strong that the seller will challenge everything that we do because they're hoping my buyer backs out and they can keep money.
Okay.
Because some sellers just look at the down, I was like, oh, wait, if she's offered it, I get to keep all her money. No, you don't, but,
Right.
right?
Is it fair to not try to go lower than 2%?
2% on a, let's say it's a $200,000 house, so you'll take 4,000 or, 2% is okay. But then when you're getting up into the higher numbers, it doesn't work. So here's the challenge with the very small down payment. If I only take 2,000 or 3,000 from the buyer and you say you want to wait 3 days to get that $3,000, and then another house goes on the market tonight and it's 5,000 less. They're not coming in with your 3,000. They're not. They're gonna call another realtor and go make an offer on the other house and never show, and then ghost you.
We have to have buyer brokerage now, though.
Different conversation.
But then they lose.
Yeah, I'm gonna sue them over $3,000. Okay. You see that? You see how quick that disappears?
Yeah.
Okay, so the math works for you now, right? All right.
Dolores,
so
I had a
my
quick
math goes up.
question. Can you hear me, Dolores?
Okay, so there's 3 things in here. There's time for acceptance of the offer, and the counter offers, and the effective date are all in this paragraph. So it's 3 completely different things. So here, if not signed by the buyer and seller and an executed copy delivered to all parties honored for this day, this offer shall deem withdrawn, and the deposit, if there is one, be returned to the buyer. So you're already looking at the house. You're the buyer's agent. Do you know if someone lives in that house or not?
Yes.
Right. If you're showing it, you know if somebody's in there, right?
Yep.
Laundry, dishes, you can know. So I would only give them a day. If I'm sending you the offer today, I want a response tomorrow. Max 2 days. Because you can't say you can't find that seller. I saw the dishes, they live there.
Does that make sense? So max 2 days would go in here. Now, if it's vacant, so I'll put in 20th. I have no idea what today is. Okay, today's 19th, doesn't matter. So I would put 2 days out. If it's vacant, I will, when I write the offer, a courtesy call always goes to the other agent. Hi, is the property still on the market? Have you received any offers? I'm writing an offer. Is your seller easier to get a hold of? If the property is vacant, it might not be as easy to get the seller. I don't know, so I have to ask. They're like, oh yeah, they do everything electronically. Okay, I still do 2 days. So typically 2 or 3 days is max. Now, what I would be careful of is making an offer on a Thursday or Friday, because the listing agent's gonna do an open house over the weekend and they're gonna stall you till Monday because they wanna see if they get. So I'm very careful with Thursday, Friday offers. Right, because I'm like, I need this back Sunday morning, because if I don't get it back by noon on Sunday, I'm out. And they don't have to come from a position of strength, because now I'm like, oh my God, I hope they present it, and then my buyer gets it, so you gotta be careful with that.
So just suggest that the offer is made it as possible.
I want it done right away, but they're gonna play games on Fridays, because they wanna have one more open house. Right?
So in that case, would you give them until Sunday?
Sunday at noon, yeah. So that's that. Now, so that's my date. Now, if the offer is presented, unless otherwise say time of accept, so that of any counter offer shall be within 2 days. If we're negotiating today and tomorrow, so they've already presented it. This is presented. Once we're negotiating, which is a counter offer, I have 2 more days after this and I don't have to change. Once we're negotiating, every time we go back and forth, it adds another 2 days without changing this. So today's the 19th, and then tomorrow on the 20th, she's like, everything is good, but we want the title company to be on page 1. And we want another 5,000 down, and we want to change the close date. Okay, we're countering. So I don't have to change this. I just bought us 2 days. And then the next day on the 21st, I'm like, okay, well, we agreed to the title company and we're okay with the close date, but we only want to put 5,000 more. And they're like, okay, let me present that. Got another 2 days. I don't have to change this. This is just for the initial offer and accept. But once we're negotiating, we have a rolling 2 days every time one of us responds. Make sense? So that's offer and counter offer. Effective date. The effective date of this contract shall be the date when the last one of the buyer and seller has signed or initialed and delivered this offer or final counter offer. That's the effective date. So you got to be very careful. And that's why in DocuSign, when I said it doesn't put a date next to the initials, I need those dates because that would be the effect. Right. So that's why I have to be very careful with that, because we could have presented the whole offer and then started making changes and initial and date. I need those dates from the initials.
And that's where Amanda helps, right?
If you use Amanda,
If you use Amanda.
yeah, she knows to do that. Okay, closing date.
So the effective day will go pay.
It could be because you could have made the offer today with your buyer. And then we made 2 or 3 changes over the next 3 days, and then the seller signs it. So it could be the seller's signature, which should be the last date. Yeah. Which is your effective date. Now, on all my deals, when after everything is signed and we have a final contract, because it says we have to deliver it, I email it to the other agent and I'll say, congratulations, here's a copy of the executed contract. These are the dates that we'll be going by. The effective date is this, the inspection date is this, the commitment date is this, and the close date is this. Do you agree? Or can you confirm? I do that the minute the contract is signed, and then the other agent goes, fine, we're good. And I'm like, yes, now we all have the same dates. So I put all the dates on there. Now, the other agent should have a copy of the contract. So typically, I don't have to send them a copy of the contract, but I will say, hey, congratulations, I look forward to working with you. These are the dates I have. Please confirm if you agree. Effective date, close date, inspection date, commitment date. That's it. close date would be at the end. So I list those 4 things and send it off and they'll agree. It's better to do it today than in 2 weeks when we're all messed up and we're fighting, because we're already fighting.
And this is still good.
It's just an email. And then to my buyer, I send the same dates and a copy of the contract. And any other paperwork. Now here I want you to be careful with the close date. So the close date that you put on here should be, if it's financed, the close date should be 7 days after commitment date. So if financed, close date is 7 days after commitment date, and the commitment is on line 89. So see, so if it's financed, then the close date should be 7 days after commitment date. Commitment date is line 89. And that'll make sense in a minute. So for us, I'm gonna put down 30 days from now. So I'll put the 22nd. I kind of like that better. Let's see, let me get back. to this calendar. Show this. Calendar, come on, calendar. Calendar. Thank you. 30 days. I'm also very careful, like if I need to close someplace at the end, I will not close on the last 2 days of the month. Because title. So, it's too crowded here. Because everybody closes at the end of the month, so I'll try to close on the 25th. I don't like Fridays, and I don't like the day before the end of the month. It's too many people trying to close at the same time. It messes up, and I don't like Fridays because banks shut down Fridays, and then I can't get funded. This is only for finance. If it's cash, I don't care.
What happens if you don't get the financing because they close the bank to your buyers lose their deposit? If they don't do
So if
anything,
it's the bank's problem, then we can close on a Friday at 8 or 9 o'clock, but I can't give them the keys because it has to be funded, and it won't get funded till Monday morning. So I won't give them the keys. So we can close, but we have to wait till the bank
right,
funds us.
gotcha.
And most banks have branches in California, so they really go all the way to midnight. They're really pretty. Most banks.
Right.
I like, so like if I'm looking at April, well, for me, for this one here, because it's the 19th, I'll close on the 22nd. I don't like Fridays. And that'll be the goal.
And that will be 30 days.
The 19th to the 22nd is 32.
And the 7 days.
That's gonna be later on. It's line 89. We're not there yet. So you'll see what that has, what I'm talking about.
That's not in the plan.
No, the close date is on 53, but the 7 days later is 89. I'll explain it when I get there. I'm not there. So it should be 7 days after line 89's date. Extension of close date. There are certain times when a closing can't happen because of the Consumer Protection Act. Don't worry about that, which is what this is about. And then extension, if it's force majeure, which is standard G, it's later on in the contract. So standard G talks about force majeure, hurricane insurrections, or things like that. So we can't close if something like that's going on because the banks might be closed or there's no power. It's reasons that are beyond our control.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about force majeure later. Occupancy and possession, unless there's a tenant in the property. So unless this is checked, that's what I'm saying, unless this is checked, seller shall at closing deliver occupancy and possession of the property to buyer free of tenants, occupants, and future tenancies. Also at closing, seller shall have removed all personal items and trash from the property. I don't need you to rewrite this. And shall deliver all keys, garage door openers, access devices, and codes as applicable to the buyer. If occupancy is to be delivered before closing, buyer assumes all risks of loss to the property from date of occupancy and shall be responsible and liable for maintenance from that date, and shall have accepted the property in its existing condition as of time of taking occupancy, which is considered pre-closing occupancy by the buyer. So if the buyer has to move in early for whatever reason, and please don't let this happen. We have to have a pre-occupancy closing, which is rider T. We don't let people move in because if the property is destroyed, we can't get them out if we don't close. It's a horrible situation. And if someone gets hurt, gets sued.
So,
Who pays taxes? Who pays HOA? Who pays the utilities? So it's a very difficult practice to let anybody move in early. So we don't. If it says that the property is subject to lease and you would check that, that means that whether there's a tenant in there who's going to stay, then we need a copy of the leases, and we ask the title company to get both a tenant estoppel and a landlord estoppel. So here's. Well, this
It's
is
the
it.
landlord and.
So these estoppel letters.
Right.
So we want estoppel letters, but we have the title company do it. All right, so that's in here. So we want to make sure that everybody's moved out. If they're not moved out, then we have to have estoppel letters. So estoppel letters tells us who owes who money, landlord, tenant. That's what, the landlord story is always different than the tenants, always. Landlord is, I don't have anything. Tenant's like, you have first, last, and security. All right, let's figure this out, because we have to transfer monies. Assignability. Assignability. So there's 3 boxes that the buyer may assign, and if they assign it, they walk away, which means we have no contract. They may assign it but not walk away, or they may not assign. So we typically put may not assign.
so if you don't check anything, it just automatically says you can't assign it?
It says if no box is checked, then buyer may not assign.
Yeah, so you just leave it alone.
Yeah, it's right there. But I always check it because I don't want I don't want anyone to walk away thinking, well, you didn't do it. I'm like, no, we're not assigning.
Gotcha.
Okay, I'm going to stop this for a second. I'll explain why. This is, so I'm so, this is crazy.